Pokémon Heart Gold and Soul Silver are still full of secrets waiting to be discovered. Welcome to this new section where we'll dive into the biggest secrets yet to be uncovered in each game of the series, starting with this flawless gem from the Nintendo DS. A few months ago, an earthquake shook the Pokémon community. A rumor, a secret that no one had ever heard of. It was so shocking that no one could ignore it. The blue Gyarados from the Lake of Rage, an unusual anomaly where the Pokémon, which is meant to introduce the world to shiny Pokémon, isn't shiny, a chance so low that it made regular shinies seem ordinary and commonplace. It seemed like such an unbelievable event that several people even dared to try out that mysterious reverse shiny hunting, but it was all just an illusion. The blue Gyarados from the Lake of Rage was actually a clever April Fool's prank by a user. It was the kind of glitch that really sounded like something Game Freak would leave in their games, so a lot of people fell for it. But in the end, it was just that. A joke, a hoax, a tribute to all those fake rumors that were so important in the early days of the series. The red Gyarados will always be red, but that doesn't mean it doesn't hide a real mystery, one that's even more unbelievable. In the 4th generation, there's a strange mechanic that's barely documented. In previous games, defeating a legendary was a fatal mistake. We only had one chance to catch it, and if we accidentally knocked it out, or if the battle dragged on long enough for it to start using struggle and faint from recoil, you'd better have saved beforehand, because after a final, agonizing roar, it would disappear forever. However, starting from the 4th generation, when you defeat a static event Pokémon, it reappears, and you get another chance to catch it every time you beat the Pokémon League. Why do so few people know about this? Well, it makes sense if we look at the nature of event Pokémon in this generation. Dialga and Palkia were the pioneers in dramatically lowering the catch rate of legendary Pokémon, so the vast majority of players caught them without any trouble, even if they only had a few regular Pokeballs left in their inventory. Drifloon appears every Friday, so if someone failed to catch it, they just had to wait and try their luck again the following week. And the rest of the events were so inaccessible that very few people would even consider any of this. But it's true, if you defeat Dialga or Palkia, you just have to beat Cynthia for them, or any other static event Pokemon to return, moved by your achievement. But what even fewer people know is that this also applies to Heart Gold and Soul Silver. Therein lies the true secret of the Lake of Rage. Its second red Gyarados. If you defeated it, something unthinkable for the only shiny Pokemon you're given, it will reappear at the Lake of Rage after you beat Lance, waiting for you. As if, despite your boldness, the universe insists that this must happen. Interestingly, after you defeat the Elite Four, something changes at the Lake of Rage in the 4th generation, and only on Wednesdays does the heavy rain that usually lashes the area stop. So defeating it and coming back after the league is the only way to catch the red Gyarados in that dry setting, giving it a special touch that might have been what the creator of the prank at the beginning was trying to recreate. But reality always surpasses fiction. But what if we go even further? The red Gyarados is a creature that very few would faint, but since it's such an iconic encounter, I bet more than one person stumbled upon this situation by chance and knew about this reappearance. But in this game, there are other event Pokemon that go even more unnoticed, like the Electrodes enslaved by Team Rocket in their hideout, generating electricity non-stop until the heroic Lance, together with the player, frees them after a brief battle to calm them down. Does this rule apply to them as well? It would be pretty funny and ironic to have freed them only to find out that after Team Rocket is finally dissolved, they return to their original spot. But that's not the case this time. The souvenir shop where Team Rocket did their shady dealings is taken over by an old lady who starts selling regular items. This in itself is quite mysterious. Could this be the original owner of the shop who was forced to leave? Whatever the case, for some strange reason you can still access the basement. The now inactive rocket hideout, with everything still in place, all that machinery still there, but completely deserted and abandoned. And the electrodes do not reappear after the league. It seems that, even though it's unlikely that the player would think to go back there, the programmers did consider that possibility, taking care to specifically program their disappearance instead of the generic respawn for event Pokemon. Could it be that they programmed it that way on purpose to tell a little story? The story that after we say goodbye to the champion following the mission, right after he gives us the HM Whirlpool, Lance didn't leave the place immediately. Instead, he stayed a while longer, freeing all the poor Pokemon that were being held there. Not just the electrodes, but also the coughing Geodude and Voltorb from the trap tiles. It's a detail that might seem tiny, but it shows us just how much these games paid attention to every little corner to make their story simple, yet truly alive. But we're not done yet. Johto has another static Pokemon, one that can't be registered in the Pokédex anywhere else, so just like the red Gyarados, very few of you would actually knock out. Sudowoodo! The mysterious tree that, when I ran into it as a kid, blocked my path for weeks because I had no idea what to do. Far from traumatizing me, it actually motivated me to talk to everyone, explore every corner, and pay attention to every detail. This silly rock-type Pokemon, pretending to be a tree, sparked my curiosity, and it's one of the reasons I ended up having such a romantic view of the Pokemon world. And since Sudowoodo is an event Pokemon, after you defeat it, it respawns after the Elite Four. In the original second generation, this mechanic didn't exist yet, so that didn't happen. Defeating Sudowoodo meant saying goodbye to that one-of-a-kind species for the rest of your playthrough. But, in exchange, if the player, instead of catching or defeating it, made the even rarer and more inexplicable choice to run away, they were treated to this funny animation of the mimic Pokemon dashing off in a panic through the trees on Route 36. It seems that, no matter the situation, this Pokemon always has a secret to offer us. Now, all of this makes me wonder about something. As we saw at the beginning of the video, the red Gyarados will always be red. That matter is settled and there are no further questions. But Sudowoodo doesn't have that trait. It can be shiny or not, depending, as always, on whatever luck has in store for us. But what happens if it's shiny? We defeat it and force it to reappear after the league. Will it stay shiny? Now that's a good question, because if few people would knock out the red Gyarados, imagine a shiny Sudowoodo. It's so rare that I doubt anyone in the world has ever come across that situation. And the answer is no. When a static event Pokemon respawns after the league, it gets completely reset. Not just its color, its IVs, nature, and everything about it changes. The one that appears is a totally different specimen. But instead of disappointing me, this just raises even more questions. If the Sudowoodo that appears there is a completely different specimen, what makes it go to the same spot and behave in exactly the same way? Do these Pokemon have it written in their genes to teach us something? To block the progress of new trainers so that, like my childhood self, they awaken that curiosity and that desire to keep going no matter what? Even worse, what about the legendaries? If every time we go through this process, we encounter a different specimen within the same game, would that confirm that they aren't unique and that there are several of them, even of such primordial beings as Dialga or Palkia? Whatever you choose to believe, one thing is clear. No matter the generation, no matter the adventure or the cartridge, this series always has and always will keep secrets for those willing to see the world with their own eyes. But without leaving the area, a few of you might remember the mysterious words of some of the fishermen at the Lake of Rage who were on that route searching for a special legendary Magikarp. A giant one. many would simply assume they were vaguely referring to the Red Gyarados. Others might think it was just an urban legend or an unimportant bit of dialogue. But what if I told you that these intriguing messages about a giant Magikarp were actually a clue to one of the most broken catches in the history of the series? With Pokemon's transition from pixel art to 3D, the difficulty took a nosedive, not just because of all sorts of conveniences for the player, like the power of friendship or the new experience share, but also because of absolute beasts that are basically handed to us very early in the adventure, like the most infamous case of Mega Latios and Latias right after the 5th badge. But did you know that in these beloved games, the Johto remakes, there's a similar case? No. The most dramatic of all, a ridiculously strong Pokemon available as soon as you get Surf after the 4th badge. Granted, it's very well hidden, making sure that only a few people took advantage of this trick back in the day. Gyarados. No, not the red Gyarados, nor the blue or rainbow one. Enough with the colored fish trivia. There's no doubt that the red Gyarados is a great addition to any team, even more so in this 4th generation remake, where the physical special split worked in its favor and, above all, being shiny was no longer determined by IVs, so now it wasn't limited to being a functional and beautiful specimen, but with terrible genetics like in the 2nd generation. In Heart Gold and Soul Silver, however, you could surf Route 43, where only Magikarps were waiting everywhere, making anyone lose interest. But with a 1% chance, the giant Magikarp that the fishermen talk about is hiding there, one at level 50. A 1% chance might seem like an arduous and epic hunt worthy of such a strong Pokemon, but in reality, all you had to do was use a repel with a Pokemon around level 30 and surf a bit to find it. Then you just had to train a little or give it a rare candy to show up at the 4th gym with a Gyarados as strong as the champion's strongest Pokemon. Maybe Lance didn't originally go to Lake of Rage because of Team Rocket, but because of rumors about a wild Pokemon in the area that could end his reign in the blink of an eye. I'm almost certain they put those lines in as a hint to get the few people who found this hidden treasure at the Lake of Rage really excited. And it's this kind of detail that makes me fall in love with the series. I wish there'd been a hidden reward like that for other similar dialogues in the series, like the search for the giant horned Heracross in the Sevi Islands. Speaking of Heracross, this bug that everyone loves was exclusive in its debut generation, making use of one of its new mechanics, the headbutt trees. Heracross could only be found in a few specific trees, so it was a tougher hunt than it seemed. But again, in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, they took things even further, hiding a big secret in these trees. There, they introduced specific trees that always hid rare Pokemon. Pokemon from other regions. They don't belong to the Johto Pokedex, but getting to them isn't so easy, even though Headbutt is a move you can get pretty early on in your adventure. These special trees are hidden in secret spots that require the use of Rock Climb, a move you can only use outside of battle after getting all 16 badges in the post-game. What's interesting about all this is that it's a very rare case in the series. Yes, in Heart Gold and Soul Silver you can catch a lot more Pokemon from other regions using the radio stations, but only after you get the National Pokedex, when they can already be registered. It's nothing new for foreign Pokemon to start appearing in different regions during the post-game, but what's special about this case is that the Pokemon living in these trees have been there from the very beginning, just waiting in their tree. If there were some way to reach these trees, we could catch them, but since we don't have a Pokedex capable of recognizing them, they would remain as unknown, unregisterable species. An unusual phenomenon in the series that doesn't happen anywhere else. So close, yet so far away. But that's all for these games. I plan to do the same with every edition in the series, so comment which one you'd like to see next, and leave a like to support this section. Follow me on social media so you don't miss anything, and be good.